Hello everyone, my name is David Dino Terrace, and I am privileged to serve as the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. I'm here today with my friend and colleague, Steve Surovig, Special Assistant to the Secretary at the Department of Human Services. And the purpose of our video today is to share some information with you regarding the Employment First Executive Order and how it can help individuals with disabilities here in Pennsylvania learn about and obtain competitive employment. Steve?
Thank you, David. So the executive order was signed by Governor Wolf on March 10th, 2016, and it did a couple of things. Number one, it is intended to motivate and rally the state agencies under his jurisdiction to develop a plan that would promote competitive integrated employment for Pennsylvanians with a disability. It does a couple of things. It defines what Employment First is, and Employment First, very simply put, is that employment shall be the first consideration and preferred outcome of all publicly funded programs such as employment, education, training, and long-term supports and services. So again, it makes employment first the first consideration and preferred outcome of all publicly funded services and supports. It also defines what competitive integrated employment is, and it refers to the definition that's included in the federal WIOA law, which is an acronym for Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act. And it basically defines competitive integrated employment as work that is done in an integrated setting. So basically when the person with a disability is working with other people without disabilities or interacting with people without disabilities, that's considered an integrated setting. And the other piece of the definition requires that the person is earning at least minimum wage or more. So again, minimum wage or more in an integrated setting is the definition of competitive integrated employment. So the executive order makes Employment First the policy of the executive branch, and it defines what competitive integrated employment is. The last thing it does is it directs these agencies I was mentioning earlier. So for example, the Departments of Labor and Industry, Human Services, and Education, and the Governor's Office of Administration to work together to develop a plan that promotes employment, both the Employment First policy and increases the overall number of people with disabilities who are working in Pennsylvania. We have an interagency team. David and I are part of that team, and we also involve the Departments of Transportation and the Department of General Services. So those agencies are working together with us to develop a plan that is due on July 8th. The plan needs to be informed by stakeholder input, so that's one of the reasons why we're doing this video. We were interested in your stakeholder input. If you have ideas specifically around how to increase the number of people with disabilities who are working, either in the public sector or the private sector, that's the kind of information we want to know. We would encourage you to send that input in to us and let us know what we could be doing differently to encourage more competitive integrated employment for all Pennsylvanians with a disability. David, do you want to talk about why it's important?
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. So, as you know, the Advisory Committee for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing will be holding their quarterly meeting on Friday, June the 3rd, here at 10 o'clock at OVR Central Office in Harrisburg. The purpose of that meeting will be discussing your ideas and your suggestions and your recommendations on what we can be doing better together to help individuals with disabilities in overcoming the obstacles and the barriers to employment. So we invite you, we need your suggestions, we need your feedback, we need to learn what can we be doing better to help individuals with disabilities to go to work. So please, if you're available, come to the meeting on Friday, June the 3rd, to share your ideas and help us develop the Employment First executive order plan that we will be presenting to the governor in July, that we hope will break down barriers and create more opportunities for people with disabilities here in Pennsylvania.
And if you can't make the meeting, there's a way to send in comments, and I'll give you that email address soon. But let me just give you a couple of examples of the kinds of input that we're looking for. So I don't want to give you specific ideas because I would be sort of leading the witness, but I can give you some concepts that we're already starting to hear from people. So for example, people are writing in comments about how the education system, maybe a local high school, could do something differently or more helpful to help an individual with a disability prepare for work. They're suggesting things around Commonwealth employment. Are there ways to make it easier to recruit, hire, and retain people with disabilities in a Commonwealth job? They're also giving ideas to the Department of Human Services, who spends a lot of resources on home and community-based services. How can we utilize those services differently? And finally, we're getting ideas about the private sector. What could the government be doing to help the private sector hire and retain more people with disabilities? So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. If you have ideas, specific ideas, please let us know. And either come to the meeting or send them in, and this is the email address I'll give you to send those comments. It's ra-pw employment first @pa.gov. So again, ra-pw employment first, all spelled out, @pa.gov. We're taking those comments. You can send them in through June 3rd. And if you miss it by a day or two, that's fine, but the sooner we get your comments, the better, so we can start thinking about what you have to say, and we can incorporate that into the plan. The other alternative to sending them in an email would be to send them to Sharon Behan's video phone. And the phone number for that video phone is 717-831-0308. Again, 717-831-0308. David?
Thank you, Steve. So again, we're very grateful that you would watch this video, and we are extremely hopeful that you will share your ideas and suggestions and recommendations on what Pennsylvania can be doing to increase training and employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities here in PA. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing your comments.